Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the 57th episode of Abyssal Musings. My name is Sam the Infamous, and with me is my co-host, Lawrence Knight. How you doing, man?
What's going on, everybody?
That actually went off without a hitch. I was expecting some kind of technical glitch, as usually
It
happens, right at
it
the last second.
yeah, it did. It stopped. It froze and then it unfroze itself. So I was like, oh. At first I was like,
Oh,
dang.
it appears to be okay on the YouTube side. So that's like the StreamYard side. I never look at what the StreamYards does with the in regards to like intros and clips and stuff like that. Because it's glitchy as shit, but it doesn't always transfer over to the YouTube side screwed up like that. Usually it shows as it was intended to, but it does make the timing kind of tricky because there is about a 4 or 5 second delay. So here we are. But yeah, so we've got looks like Kohai is in the chat doing her den mother thing. Thank you for that. Don't
You know,
cut
I
the
was
swear things.
first.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
first, and I
Well,
said so an hour ago, and of course, YouTube.
you're on the panel.
I don't own the channel.
Uh,
It doesn't count when you do it.
all right. Hi, Larry in the chat. How's it going? Good to see you. Like you're up here. I didn't see the necessity of saying hello to you in the chat, but hey, Richard L. Because I can say hello to you directly. Bad Brother G, good to see you,
It's
man.
not for you. It's for everybody else to know who's number.
I don't think they care, dude.
I don't care if they care. They know. That's all that matters.
Anyway, it has been a week. Chat. Hopefully, your week has been relatively smooth sailing. For the most part here too. But let me tell you what, it's mid-November and it's 60 fucking degrees outside at 10 o'clock or at 9 o'clock at night, and everything feels wrong.
That's probably why you've got the headache.
It might be. I've got a. Just so you're aware, Chad, I do have a massive headache, and I am powering through, as it were. But it might have something to do with air pressure. Yeah, because it's supposed to start getting colder, but we're still not going to see any precipitation, any snowfall or anything like that for a while, which is really unusual for where I live. Should have been buried under snow like weeks ago. So but I heard Texas, Richard. I heard Texas is hotter than usual at this time of year too.
I think it
So
depends on where you're at. Some
yeah,
parts of Texas, the heat is drier than others.
yeah. Well, I know Shadow's been saying that where he's at is hot enough that he can't sleep.
Yeah, he's not in Texas though.
No, but he's not far from Texas, geographically speaking. So let's say the S word. Yeah. I don't really want it either. It's just something's going on with the weather, and we should have been inundated already. So it wouldn't have been unusual at this point for it to have dumped on us like 2 or 3 times by now with real heavy, sustained stuff. But we got it once, and it was gone in 2 days. Which is really unusual. And I don't think that bodes well for like deep winter. Deep winter is going to suck.
Yeah, well, we'll see, man. I know some people they're calling this the El Nino year. So, uh, being on the eastern side of the country right now, I think if I were them, if you're believing the things that are being said right now on on YouTube, as far as weather's concerned, you might want to start hunkering down and get yourself ready.
Yeah. I don't know. I can usually feel the snow coming, and so far nothing. So Like, it's like
What?
we're not even having any rain. We actually had a yellow alert the other day, which means fire danger.
Over there, a
Like,
yellow alert means red. Means fire.
no, no, it doesn't mean fire. It means it's a possibility of it. If it's a red, then it's definitely, yeah. Don't light any matches outside because everything's going to go up. But if it's yellow, they're talking like we haven't had precipitation in so long that everything's so dry out here. We might end up with wildfire in freaking winter.
That's possible. That's definitely possible.
Yeah. So and I have never seen that happen in November. I've never seen that happen in November. Not out here.
First time for
Usually
everything.
it's two. Yeah. Well, that's true. So anyway, what do we got going on tonight, man?
But we had quite a bit. We have quite a bit going on. Chad, I will admit though, I am kind of. We're gonna keep an eye on Sam's headache. If we have to cut things early, then what we will do is carry some of what we were gonna do tonight to next week. Um, and so yeah, I will definitely be here next week. The week after next, I probably will not be on because I will I'm in process of being of packing. And in fact, my house was officially sold this morning. So I
Congratulations.
thank you. So 2 weeks from yesterday, I will be on a plane, and 2 weeks from today, I'll be settling in and doing the things I need to be doing. So I don't know for sure if I will be on. I'll try, but I think I'm gonna just in case I'm gonna look for a third panel member, just in case. That way you're not on here by yourself. and since
Oh, it
Kohai
should be all
doesn't
right.
since Kohai doesn't seem to want to come on, then
No, no,
I
no,
mean
no. Don't we've got backups. We've got people. I don't know if I want to give that woman a platform. No offense, Kohai.
well Kohai, thank you for the well wishes. But yeah, this chapter of my life is closing. Um yeah, last week was painful, but I made it through okay. Um and yeah, folks, just a tissue almost a tissue almost ended my life. So I'm laughing about it now, but around this time last week, I was in a lot of pain. Um, I don't hear my voice. I thought that was Kohai's voice for Shadow when it goes the $20. Twenty
It
dollars.
is, but she put it through a bunch of modulation.
Yeah.
So like it is the bass sound is her voice, but yeah, she artificially manipulated it to make it sound like Shadow was a 10-year-old boy in a dress.
He still is. Anyway,
So
so so I guess Kohai is we're gonna call her Kohai the cryptid, the demon memer,
yeah.
the cryptid.
Well, we know she exists, so I don't think that works. But uh,
Well, I mean, people say the Loch Ness monster exists. We have animals today that existed that were said to be cryptids. Many
does the
years
Loch
ago.
Ness monster make memes of you on the internet?
It could.
But it doesn't.
You know that for sure.
I mean, unless its name is Kohai, which I doubt very much.
Sure about that.
Yeah, pretty
Loch
sure.
Ness Kohai.
So, cut the shit out of my finger earlier today.
Did you doing
I
what?
was
At work?
on a box. I was breaking a box down, and it was one of those ones with like the almost paper thin cardboard, but it's like real rigid and shit. It's like touching the edge of that's like touching a knife blade. Sliced the tip of my pinky wide open.
Ouch.
Yeah, didn't hurt so much, but it bled all over the damn place, which was super fun because then I had to clean that up too. So But yeah, that was
Well, here's hoping that you feel better.
what's making typing difficult because I'm not a hunt and pecker. I use my home keys, and you use your pinkies for all your peripherals.
So, so I'll go through the rundown tonight. So, folks, of course, we've got some infamous news for you guys. We got a couple articles that caught my eye earlier this week. What else she talking about wrapping me in bubble wrap for?
Well, had had that thing the other day.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now I get it. I get it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
by the way, yeah. By the way, chat. I mean, I could just let him speak for himself. Obviously, he's here and everything like that, but he's doing much better. He did get checked out, so yeah.
Yeah, I got an email from a certain feline also. Well, not email. I got my wife got a text message from her, and then I texted her. I just said, "Hey, I'm okay," and she's pretty much, well, I'm glad to see that you're still breathing. And I said, yeah, my wife told me that you contacted her. It's nice to know you care. And she was like, I just wanted to make sure that your soul was still around. I was like, what do you mean? She, how she is. It's just, well,
Hmm.
I just want to make sure your soul was still mine. As long as you're breathing, it is. I was like, oh, I guess that's the closest I'm gonna get.
She's protecting her asset.
that's pretty much
Uh,
that's pretty much what she was saying. You're no good to be dead. So I just wanted to
yeah,
check and make sure you okay.
I do kind of want to address this. I know, Richard, you mean that as a joke. There was a time, yeah, in my teens, where I kind of went down that path for a little while, but it wasn't productive. I mean, it never is, but in my case, it was doubly so unproductive because essentially I hung out with a bunch of people who were in fact cutters, like psychological and all that stuff, and I didn't understand it. So I decided to find out what that was about by joining in, and so now I have a number of scars on my left arm and my hands that I probably could have gone my whole life without getting otherwise. And as it turns out, it didn't do shit for me besides make me bleed, so I stopped. But yeah, there was a time. So yeah, so like I said, I understand that was a joke, but yeah, yeah, there was a time, but not so much anymore. Not for
I
how long ago was that, man? That was
don't know. I didn't know you
pretty
back then.
close to 25 or 30 years.
Whew,
Yeah,
that's a long time
somewhere in
ago.
there.
And you
Yeah.
still got those scars too. So that means you cut deep.
Well, I have only a couple of them are visible. I know where they all are because I put them there, but only a couple of them are still visible. They faded pretty well for the most part. They really show up when I sunburn, though.
Mm.
Yeah. So, hey,
Hey,
JV, good to see you, man.
all
So I
right.
stand by what I said about Sue Storm being fucking useless.
Is that what you were complaining about?
Look, man, the only reason that she got retconned to have additional powers with force fields is because visibility is boring, and she was a useless member of that team.
I have to agree with that. I mean, the force fields were nice.
Yeah.
But you know what?
So.
Honestly, I've never been a huge Fantastic Four fan. Anyway, I've
Mhm.
always found the Human Torch to be annoying. Um, Sue Storm, I admit, when I was a kid, I found myself wondering a lot, like, okay, what is she really good for? Um, what's his name? The thing I liked, I always liked the thing's attitude, but
Oh
just
yeah.
the look just kind of threw me off. And Reed I liked. Also I had a lot of respect for him,
Well,
but I
part of
just
the reason, yeah, part of the reason that's come up though is because they're talking about casting like Pedro Pascal maybe for Reed Richards.
yeah, I heard about that, and then
Yeah.
I did my best to forget it, which I had until now.
I don't have a problem with Pedro as an actor. I just don't think he's right for that role. He's not. I mean, the guy's pretty beefy for a skinny ass scientist. Just saying.
But
You know.
he looks nothing like Reed Richards. That's the thing. I would not believe. I wouldn't. I just. I even with suspension of misbelief, I would be laughing at the screen the whole time, looking at this man
Right. Yeah. No. And
playing Reed Richards of
it's
all people.
frankly the most interesting thing about the Fantastic Four were their villains, aside from Ben Grimm, who's fucking awesome. Um,
Yeah,
Human Torch has cool powers, but the character's boring as shit.
yeah,
Um, JV, that
yeah.
is
I bet
true.
he regrets that. I bet he regretted
That
that.
that is very true. Did you know that the original Human Torch was in fact an android?
Yes, I did.
That has nothing to do with the Fantastic Four. So, but anyway, long story short, yes, I was over in FNR chat for a minute while I had a moment. Because they'd mentioned the Fantastic Four. I was like, nope, nope, it's dumb. I don't care. I don't want to watch any of their movies ever because they're not great characters. I don't care how fucking first family of Marvel they are.
I was always I always preferred X Men to them anyway. I just felt like um X Men. I mean, don't get me wrong. Fantastic Four has rich history, but it's just the sense of danger that X Men was always in. It was like every time you looked up, they were getting their butts kicked or something. You know, it was always something catastrophic
Yeah,
that they were facing. And it's not that the Fantastic Four didn't have their enemies. You know, like besides Doctor Doom, like Super Scroll and some of the others. It was just
Mole Man.
yeah, Mole Man. You know, the only Richards that I really like is Nathaniel Richards. Huge fan of Nathaniel Richards. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was just not into Fantastic Four no matter how hard I tried to get into it. I was like,
Yep. Real quick, Shadow. That's not going to happen. That's just flat not going to happen. And if you've read some of those, so I know that you know why that's not going to happen. Conan is an apex predator, right? He's a big, beefy hunk of testosterone. Even when he uses weapons, the weapons are more or less an extension of his will. He is the weapon, right? He takes what he wants. He ravishes women. He conquers and destroys kingdoms, and he does all of it according to his whim. According to today, nothing about that character is redeeming today's morality. And so, no, you're never going to see that happen. You're never going to get a faithful adaptation of Conan stories on screen. The closest they got was a Jason Momoa movie, and it was fucking terrible. So, you know,
yeah. Well, well, look, okay, they'll do it, Shadow, but it won't be the Conan story that you want.
no,
No,
Red Sonja will ride up and cut his balls off and fucking dangle him in a purse,
yeah.
in a purse in front of him the whole time. It's
Or
not worth the fucking trouble,
or
man. Just read the books.
they'll gender swap him or make him trans or something. It's not going to be what you think or what
Yeah,
you
no.
know or
So,
what it should be.
or you know what? Actually, most of that shit's in the public domain, man. If that's what you want, fucking make it yourself. You know, that's probably the best way to go about it. Is because there's no way that Hollywood's ever gonna fucking do that ever. You know. Uh, hey, America, good to see you. Just realized almost everybody in chat has a wrench. That's hilarious.
Well, I guess we can start off with the first news report. You guys might want to brace yourselves because I I mean okay, yeah, I laughed, but then I cringed. Yeah, this really happened. This actually happened. So
Why would you have your bare penis out anywhere near a python?
well, okay, what happened? What happened is So it's a Australian porn star. I have no idea who this lady is. Australian porn star named Danny DeBello, right? So she went on her follow. She went on her social media and was talking about this whole incident and I thought it was like a little ball python. It's not. It's not the biggest python that I've seen, but you could tell it's on its way to become a good size. So what happened is, okay, so it's a Centralian carpet python, right? So it's 8 foot long. It's not That's not the biggest for pythons, but that's pretty dang big. I mean, that's like rattlesnake size right there. Um, but what happened is she had her boyfriend over, and if I remember correctly, she went to go take a shower. And what she decided to do was her boyfriend was sitting on the couch. He's watching TV. He's minding his own business. Oh no, it's a friend, right? So they went ahead and did their thing. She jumps in the shower, and he said that he wanted to hold her pet. So she goes ahead and she puts the pet around his neck, goes ahead and takes her shower, right? And she goes to take a shower, and then all of a sudden she hears screaming. She comes out. The snake has grabbed this man's penis, bit down, and he's screaming, trying to get it off. He can't get it off. She had to help him get the snake off.
So she didn't actually see how.
No,
So all we have is his word for it.
against the snake, something that can't even talk and defend itself. For all we know, he might have. There's a lot
That's
of
where my head was at.
there's a
There's some
lot of
weird
weird.
people out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird fetishes out there, and yeah, let me try to scroll through. So that's the perpetrator right there. That's the perpetrator.
Yeah. And there was blood everywhere that indicates that he was somewhat, at least partially excited at the time.
Well, I'm sure that didn't last for long, but I mean,
No, but that's because all the blood fucking fell out of him.
yeah,
Because
I
the
mean,
snake put a bunch of holes in it.
yeah, and apparently the snake she appeared the snake got her too. After pulling the snake off his penis, she checked to make sure there were no little teeth left in it because pythons
Uh,
sometimes leave their
yeah, reptiles will leave teeth behind in a bite. We
they'll
used to
leave
have
you a
this.
memento.
Yeah, we used to have this golden tegu, man, and if he got a piece of you, he'd like leave these like little. I mean, technically they're teeth, but they look like tiny little glass knives.
Yeah.
And he just like leave half a row of them in your fucking arm. You know,
Here you
that,
go.
that lizard was a dick.
Yeah,
Come
well,
again?
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for the guy. And he had to have reconstructive surgery. So, oh no, this is a different one. Oh, a cobra bit this guy
Oh,
during in 2021. A 47-year-old Dutch man had to undergo reconstructive surgery after on his penis after a cobra bit his manhood during a safari trip in South Africa, causing it to rot.
yeah. Well, bad brother. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. A lot of it has to do with the fact that if they're venomous at all, which they're very very rarely are, they're rear fang venomous, which is more to do with paralyzing than it does with actually killing uh, their prey. And most of the time, when they bite down on a person, like it's they don't deploy those rear fangs that often. Usually, it's like warning or just testing the waters or whatever. Um, so typically, yeah, the bite from a boa or a python is not lethal, which is why we don't have that same fear from it. But what people don't understand is they still have sharp fucking teeth,
Yeah.
and it still hurts.
And they have
you know?
powerful jaws. Check.
Yeah,
And here's a
and
scary one.
right, right.
Yeah.
And JB's like, "Why are you on safari with your junk all exposed? Who does that?" Well,
Well, I don't think it was exposed. I think he just got tagged right there.
yeah.
And the other thing too is that you know cobras aren't aggressive like that. You know, so the question is, what was he doing that caused him to get bit by? And you're on a safari, so what were you doing?
That depends on the species. There are a handful of species that are more aggressive. The popular
What?
theory is that some of them is because their eyesight is so poor that they'll strike at literally anything. But the there yeah, so there are a few that will
Well,
fucking strike aggressively for no
what
reason.
I mean is by aggressive is they just see something, they just take off running and just start going on a rampage. And maybe there are a couple of species that.
Actually, if you give me a second, I think I got a video I saved a while back that I didn't I never ended up showing. Um, Let me see if I can find it. But it basically shows a king cobra come charge at this woman who's just like sunbathing.
Did you see the king cobra that invaded a golf course earlier this week? He was running from a mongoose. Mongoose was trying to eat him.
Well, that's what they do. This would be a while back though, so let me scroll up and see if I can figure out where the hell I saved this at. But yeah, there are a few that will become aggressive, and you got to keep in mind too that like animals, like people, are individuals. Different ones will react to different things, differently, in much the same way that individual people will do. Oh, hey, there it is. That's not as far back as I thought. October 20th. All right, let me just set up and bring it up here. Da-da, doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. All right. So this thing comes charging at her, right? And it looks like it might have been running from a couple of dogs in the background. And she catches a goddamn thing as it strikes. It's only about 18 seconds long, but this is kind of wild. Let me know if this plays okay.
Amazing moment caught on tape.
It's good.
A woman sunbathing
Woo!
as a king cobra is about to attack. What reflexes? Barehanded bravery goes one headline. Another reads, she captures snake in midair. The heart-stopping attack took place in South Africa. Amazing moment caught on tape.
Yeah, so
That
that
thing
was
must have been
I saw
frightening.
that a while back. I wanted to bring that up here. Yeah, like if you had looked in the background, there's a couple of dogs behind it too. So it probably got chased off by
Yeah, it
them
was
and just
scared.
came running out and then saw this woman in his way and is like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna strike."
Yep.
It's like, yeah.
That thing was
So,
quick too.
yeah. Well, I mean, they're not slow animals, and it's the grass gives it plenty of turf to work with.
Yeah, yeah.
So, hey, that's no. So, before we go too much further, though, JB actually did have a question for you in chat.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. I got to scroll up and find it again. Ah, here it is.
How am I doing? JB, I'm doing a lot better. Yeah, yeah. As I said earlier, uh, a napkin almost killed me, but I'm good. But yeah, last week was not fun. I was in a lot of pain. I wasn't moving well at all. Um, and as the days went on, different parts of my body that I didn't know was hurt started hurting.
Yeah, that'll happen. That's one of the reasons that they tell you to watch out for whiplash and like car accidents and stuff. Because you might feel fine for the first few days
Oh
after the
yeah.
fact, but that doesn't mean there isn't damage done.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it catches up with you. So, but yeah, no, I'm doing good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad to hear it. I know chat's glad to hear it. There were a lot of people crossing fingers and saying prayers and stuff when they heard. So
I appreciate it. So to a certain somebody, yeah, I'm still alive. I guess my soul is still useful to you.
yeah. So
Yeah, yeah, my soul's not it's not going anywhere just yet. Um, now here's one. Since we were supposed to be talking about cryptids last week,
we did a little.
I'm not even sure if this is real. I don't know. So apparently somebody got this from they spotted on Google View. That could just be that could just be like a statue or something somebody put, you know.
Yeah, because otherwise it'd have no fucking bones in its arms.
It's just a photo. Strange naked creature with long floppy arms has been spotted on Google Street View. It doesn't.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, you look at that. Look at that hand there. That's not real.
Yeah, it's definitely not real. But
Farm scarecrow. Yeah, they tell you it's not real in the little video there.
they try to make something out of it. Floppy arm creature in Utah, the cosmic chupacabra. I've
Yeah,
never heard of the cosmic chupacabra. I've just heard of just the regular chupacabra.
it's news to me.
I don't know where he got that, but I just
Like,
thought that this was
does
kind
that
of.
does that mean there are cosmic goats too?
You tell us. You're supposed to be the cosmic entity.
I'm just saying. I don't know. And it's not. It's news to me, man. But chupacabra literally means sucker of goats.
Yeah, I that's another thing that I made it a point. Yeah,
Well, they're like vampires. They suck the blood out of goats. They're like somewhere between vampires and hyenas,
Vampinas.
and kind of with a little wild boar thrown in. Like the razorback bristles. So,
That's a
but yeah,
scary thought.
they're called goat suckers. It's a literal translation because it's a literal term because people were finding exsanguinated livestock, usually goats.
Well, here's something. And this is I know I'm switching really quick. Here's something. Now, this is something that I really wanted to show you because I thought you would like to see this. So I know that you're very fond of woolly mammoths. Well, there's plans to crossbreed and bring it back and put it on an island by 2028.
Oh, they started talking about doing this years ago.
Well, it looks like they're closer than ever.
Closer. I mean, they're basically talking about like what there's there. That's some Jurassic Park shit. There, combined
Yeah.
DNA from ancient species with living Asian elephants, which I don't think is possible.
Somebody out there thinks it's possible.
Well, I'm sure you could do it, but I don't think it'd be viable as a creature. Like you look at lions and tigers. Lions and tigers are not genetically that different, right? But when you crossbreed them, you end up with these oversized mutant freaks who live in pain because they're basically riddled with tumors.
Yeah, ligers, and they can't reproduce.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, no crossbreeds can. They're always sterile, like mules, for example. Um, so that's not really so much the issue. Is just like why would you like doing something like this that you
Somebody's
might end
bored,
up
man.
with an animal who's alive for a while, but it's going to be in fucking agony.
Or two is, what if they succeed and they decide to do something else and something else and something else? Hey, why don't we bring pterodactyls back? It'll be safe. What we can control a T Rex.
So that's one of the reasons that Crichton talked about using frog DNA for that, because frog DNA is very much fluid, almost like stem cells. Because they're amphibious. which means they go through multiple states in their lives, so their shit's already coded to be altered, um, and all that. And that's why they did that in Jurassic Park, was they used frog DNA to basically make that, to fill in the gaps with the dinosaur DNA. But I don't think you could do that in real life, because the modern amphibians, ancient reptiles, I don't know, man. I think they're too far distant. And I think the same thing of this here, that like woolly mammoths might have looked like elephants, right? Mastodons might have looked like elephants, but they were different species.
Yeah. Well, these guys seem to think that so they aim to rebuild the woolly mammoth genome using samples from unearthed specimens, filling in the gaps with DNA from modern Asian elephants. So it makes me wonder, would they be the same size as the originals? Because they're basically crossbreeding with something else.
Oh, probably not. I mean, unless they ended up with like some mutant, like rampant mutation would probably cause oversized stuff, but I don't think you'd end up with something that looked more like the elephant man than an elephant.
And here's the key thing right here too that I'm looking at. They then have to coax woolly mammoth embryos into surrogate elephants and find tribal and government partners willing to let the company release or quote rewild woolly mammoths onto their land. So you guys want to play God with an extinct animal and then find somebody stupid enough to let you put it on their land and let it do who knows what. And what
Yeah,
kind of environmental effect would that thing have?
they don't think that far ahead, because I guarantee it's fucking environmentalists behind this shit. I guarantee it is, because they're like, oh, we ought to bring back some of the species that got wiped out. It's like, well, first of all, we didn't wipe the woolly mammoths out. That wasn't us.
Yeah.
you know. And secondly, yeah,
Well,
they
you know what
don't
they're
they
gonna
don't think
do.
that far ahead.
Well, you know what they're gonna do because anybody with sense is gonna say that. But you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna blame cavemen for global warming, or they're gonna blame cavemen for the ice age or whatever destroyed them. They're gonna blame can. Well, the cavemen
Yeah,
did it, and since we're
like mammoths
we're
didn't fart, right?
yeah yeah
Yeah, but that's the same thinking that they had when they reintroduced the gray wolf to a number of areas that they had been driven out of, right? The biome, the climate, the local ecosystem had adapted without them, right? So when you reintroduce them, that's like introducing a foreign invasive species,
yeah.
right? The environment can't take it. So yeah, I don't, if they're successful, which I doubt, right? And even if they're successful, you're not going to have like viable breeding stock,
Well,
because
here,
not with crossbreeding DNA like that.
well,
Uh,
well, they have the answers to that right here. The two species share 99.6% of their genome, so this is not as big of a stretch as it may sound.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. We share 99.7% of the fucking genome with chimpanzees.
Yeah, it's always that one that just that
Yeah.
that one little part.
They act like 0.3% is not that big a deal. I don't think when they're always downplaying exactly how much information is in that 0.3%, right? DNA is huge.
Well, you see this? You know what this is? This is the what could go wrong statement. It's close enough. What could possibly go wrong? That's what that is.
Uh, JV, that's only partially true. A lot of that was pushed by the EPA and people like PETA and shit like that, because they're like, oh, well, we got to let them back in and all that stuff. That had nothing to do with controlling the elk population. There was a faction who was pushing for that. You're absolutely right. But for the most part, it's been disastrous, because it's not like the wolves stay confined to Yellowstone. You know, they've been breeding faster than we've been told. They've been leaving Yellowstone's borders. They have been attacking livestock on ranches, and we're told that we cannot defend our livestock from wolves. and now that we have them back. So it is a little bit more to it than the elk population. Although, yeah, you don't want too many elk because then you end up with a fucking bunch of diseases. And problem is they had already been chased out of there. They had already been killed to a point where they were no longer in the area and all that stuff. Then the ecosystem had moved on. So I don't know, but yeah, and they never think about how much impact. Like if you brought woolly mammoths back, right? Even like they say, oh, we want to put them on an island. Well, I doubt very much that an island is their natural habitat. First of all, they need like wide roaming plains.
Right. They'll be in Wyoming.
Uh,
That's where they're gonna go.
basically, yeah, or Montana, or fucking the Dakotas or something like that. Yeah,
Or Seattle.
or fucking Nebraska. Where we get a ton of fucking corn from Nebraska, right? Tons of it. Like that's
They are
basically
the
their
corn
major
huskers.
export. Yeah, well, it's because they produce a fuckload of corn, especially in western Nebraska. If you were to release an animal this size, right, and it sees an abundant food source like that, and of course something like that would be completely illegal to shoot. You imagine what that would do to our food stores?
Oh yeah. It'll rampage.
Or if you put it down in the breadbasket of America where we get all our wheat.
Yeah, it's gonna tear through all of that.
Yeah. No, this is an absolutely stupid fucking idea. And even if they put it on an island, I mean, what's it going to do on an island? There's not enough food on an island to sustain an animal of that size for any length of time.
That's why they want to put it on somebody's on some government's land, and then of course they're gonna
Yeah.
want the government to feed this thing.
Oh, it'll be Wyoming. It'll definitely be Wyoming. The federal government owns something like 93% of all of the land in Wyoming,
That's
including the
crazy.
mineral rights, the water rights. Yeah.
It's a wonder they haven't relocated the White House to Wyoming if they own that much of it.
Yeah. So I don't know.
That's
I don't know
crazy.
if I agree with that statement, Shadow. I think it's just our natural
Well,
state.
as for the
God, I know
company
God.
called Colossal, here's what the CEO said: "We should be so lucky that in 10,000 years from now, people love us as much as we love mammoths." Hey,
Yeah.
here are the geniuses.
Take a good look, chat. Memorize those faces, because if they are in any way successful, I guarantee down the road, they are not going to be praised. They are going to be hated universally. Mark my fucking words.
And I don't care what they say, somebody's gonna go hunting. But yeah, that's that. Looking at that, um, I'm willing to bet that if they're successful, because they're not gonna mate more. They're gonna mate more than one. I mean, they're gonna make more than one because they're gonna hope that it'll mate and then grow in a population. They drop that sucker in Wyoming and it starts mating and populating. You know, I'd say within 10 years or less, you're gonna have a massive problem. They're
Yeah.
going to rampage through that, and what's gonna stop them? Like you said, you won't be allowed to shoot them.
Yeah. Um, they're probably not going to put much of anything in Nevada, man. I mean, yeah, it's mostly federal government land too, but you guys ain't got shit out there. Like
Elvis
it's even more
impersonators.
barren than where I live.
Yeah, Elvis impersonators.
Yeah, I suppose they could put some Smilodons right in the heart of Vegas, right? They could just like eat up all the showgirls.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't take them long. A Smilodon's like a fucking 10-ton cat. They're very big.
But yeah, he's whew, they're definitely they've got their plan put together, man. Eventually populations of woolly mammoths will make their homes on the tundra, says Lamb, and the company is very serious about its goals. Launched in 2021, Colossal staff has grown to 115 full-time scientists and 60 external collaborators. They are not joking at all.
Oh no, I believe they're serious. I also believe they're fools. Like you're gonna end up with something like that, except it'll be alive.
Like I said, who knows what that thing psychologically,
Well,
physically, you don't know what it's gonna do.
it'll probably be fucking bad with agony. All that stuff I was saying about the ecosystems and if it was viable and all that stuff. That's all assuming it gets past that point. I don't believe it will. So it looks like that's down there at the bottom. That's what Bad Brother was talking about too. Is that they're looking at bringing back the Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah,
That
I
might be a little bit more doable though, because they haven't been extinct that long comparatively.
but what would their impact be on our ecosystem at this point?
Well,
You
if they
put
put
them
him
in.
back in Tasmania, they'd probably fuck it up. I mean, it's a tiny island. You know, they'd probably really mess it up. As from what I understand, they're not technically tigers. They're not felines. I think they were actually a form of canid, like like coyotes almost, or dingoes.
Well,
And
it's uh,
well, I mean, I think I might be wrong about that. They might have been marsupials too. But basically, they were like an apex predator of the ecosystem. They're no longer there. The ecosystem's moved on.
right. And so, would they even, if they were put back there, would they be predators still, or would they be prey? I mean, and look how they died the last time, by mistake, because farmers thought that they were killing their sheep. I don't believe that. What I think is that Australia got their butt kicked by those emus, and they wanted to take it out on somebody.
Tasmania is not Australia.
That don't stop them from flying over there and getting them.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened.
JV.
Australians go on vacation.
Yeah. Usually to Thailand, Bangkok. Um, JV. Why not bring back the dodo? I will tell you why. I see because getting on this dodo's lives matter. They don't, though, really. By all accounts, they were an incredibly stupid bird that would just sit there and wait for you to club it to death. And the reason they got wiped out wasn't because they were stupid necessarily, although that did help with the wiping out of them. But apparently the dodo was delicious, like beyond any kind of bird, like fowl that we eat today. And if they brought those back, it would not be long before they were extinct again.
But would they take? Well, we wouldn't know if they tasted the same.
Yeah, I'm just going by I forget who it was who wrote all that stuff down, but yeah, there were a number of naturalists who discovered, or the naturalists who discovered them talked about how good tasting they were, and next thing you know, a couple years later, they're all gone.
No, those lives matter. DLM. Their lives
Yeah,
did matter. I mean, but
I mean,
apparently,
obviously they didn't.
what I was gonna say is that it's not that their lives didn't matter. It's just that whoever ate them felt like their lives mattered more.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I would be interested in eating dodo meat though, because just the description of how good it was just kind of makes me curious for that. But beyond that, I don't see any real practical purpose in bringing those things back. It was white people. It was white people. The dodo lived on an island that didn't have any human inhabitants on it, so it was us. It was Europeans.
It wasn't
Yeah.
me.
No, no, no. But it was explorers because I think they lived. on an island that was not far from the southern Cape of South America, is where they were discovered at. But
Right.
yeah, there was no human inhabitants on this island, so it wasn't anybody else. It was us. Well, yeah, I assume when you given birds two, score of two there, you're talking about both emu wars over in Australia. Yeah,
Somebody's gonna pay
okay, I
for it.
see. I see. Yeah, he got it.
All right. So moving on. Tonight's cryptid. I never told you who it is. Never told you what tonight's cryptid is. It's a classic. It's one that you guys have probably heard of before. You've heard it somewhere. Baba Yaga.
Oh, Baba Yaga is not a. That's. I suppose you could call it a crypt. Baba Yaga's a witch.
He's still considered a cryptid. Remember that map that you asked me for, the one that you couldn't load up last week? Yeah, she's on that map.
Yeah, yeah, but that map that I looked at that was about boogeymen, which Baba Yaga would definitely fall under. Um, but it was and female in the myths that I remember. Um, lives in a house that stands up on two giant chicken legs,
Yes.
surrounded
Oh,
by a white
and
picket fence
before you
made with
move,
children's bones.
before you move forward, the quiz that I made, I was doing research on boogeymen, and they were also described as cryptids as well, which is why. Just so you know.
All right, I just this is I would not classify Baba Yaga as a cryptid. More so
Well, I think the
any
rest of
more
us
than
would
I would Paul
disagree with you.
Bunyan.
Well, you're a
Right?
cryptid.
No,
Nobody knows if you're real or not. You could be
like
AI.
that's
Nobody's seen your
uh,
face. You could be
well,
AI generated.
well, like I said, I would not put Baba Yaga in that category any more than I would put Johnny Appleseed or Paul Bunyan or Pecos Bill.
Well,
That's folklore.
I'd put Baba Yaga in it because I've never seen Baba Yaga. And if I saw her, she would scare the hell out of me. I'd probably drop dead. I might even become an albino instantly. 'Cause all the color would leave me.
Yeah, you'd look really weird if you had no color.
Yeah, I would. Pink lips and
Yeah.
everything.
No. But yeah, this is from Russian folklore.
Yeah.
Baba
This in
literally
particular,
means old mother.
this photo's from D&D, guys. Just in case you're wondering what this whole got involves. I like this photo. I like the photo, but this is just from the D&D, games. For those of you
Yeah.
who
And I'm sure you guys have all seen John Wick, where he's referred to as Baba Yaga by the Russians. But I don't know. I've always heard that the stories I always heard when I was younger was that Baba Yaga was an old crone, an old woman
cases and
who
eats
ate
children.
children. Yeah,
There's a few
yeah. She
other. Sorry, go ahead.
well, you know the witch from Hansel and Gretel, and she's got the house made of sweets to sort of bait kids,
Yeah,
right? This is like that, except nothing about her house is sweet. It's fucking terrifying,
right.
and it can chase you.
Her sitting outside with her cauldron, just putting vegetables and stuff in it, just laughing at you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, for some reason, the Russians have some really strange ideas in their folklore and their mythologies. Um, just visually strange, like because her house basically it sits atop two gigantic chicken feet, like the whole legs, like just they got all those like yellow scales on them and shit like chickens do and all that stuff. It's a weird concept, right? And she's got a picket fence around the house made of children's bones
I didn't know that.
that for some reason never gets brought up when the house decides to like go somewhere else. It's just always around it. It's a weird concept. It's kind of like their version of the vampire, and I forget what the word is for that. I want to say Rikulek, but I don't think that's accurate. That might be something else entirely. But they basically have these big bushy black beards. They're blue skinned. They only have one nostril, and they suck the blood through the bottom of your feet. They also smell really bad, so you can smell them coming. And they're very, very, very stupid.
I don't know if they would be Strigoi.
No, this is there's a different word for them in Russia. That's a strigoi is a Slavic word, yes, but it's not a Russian word. It comes from the Czechs and the Magyars and the specifically the Romani. It's very Central European, Central Eastern European. No, the word I'm looking for, and I was wrong too. That like Rikulak is a word for a vampire-like creature, but it's Greek. It's not Russian. I was getting those mixed up, so I don't remember what the word is for. And the way to defeat them, because they were so very, very stupid, and because you could smell them coming, was that if you were out and about with a friend, right, and you were camping out in the middle of nowhere, and you smelled one coming, you went to bed and you slept head to toe with the other guy. So like your feet would be near his head, and his feet would be near your head, and you'd be under one blanket, so that when the vampire comes up, he lifts up one end, he sees a head, he's like, okay, that's not where I suck blood from. I suck blood from feet. So he goes to the other end, he lifts it up, he sees another head, and he's like, well, shit, there are no feet here. And he gets confused and he leaves.
Instead of just lifting a leg.
Yeah. Because they're really stupid.
But somebody's feet is sticking out. Somebody's feet is sticking in something at some point.
Well,
Somewhere.
no, like you make sure that the head is sticking out further than the feet are. So that way when he lifts it up, it's like he's looking for feet, but he doesn't see feet. He sees a head. Strigoi, yeah, Richard, that was they did use that term in there. That's kind of a blanket term, though. It doesn't necessarily mean vampire. It also means witch. It means possessed. It means a number of different things. So it gets used for some things. Like it has been used to reference like vampire-like creatures, but it's mostly used to talk about hauntings and possessions and witches. So, but yeah, it's a good word though. We also get the word Nosferatu from Romania, Romania, from the Romanian language, which literally means the undead. So, but none of that has anything to do with Baba Yaga. It was it was making a point about how Russian folklore is bizarre.
Do you think it's the most bizarre? And what makes it bizarre to you?
I don't know that it's the most bizarre. I know that there's some weird shit out there in a lot of different folklores, but it just strikes me as visually, like when you try to visualize these things inside your head, it just comes off as just like, wow, that's an image. Whereas like your lamias from Greece, which are snakes with women's heads that suck the blood out of infants, right? That for some reason it just makes more sense to me than a blue guy with one nostril who sucks blood out of feet. Hey JB, welcome. Vlad the Impaler was a real dude, and also not a vampire, but he did kill a lot of people, most of whom had it coming, but he was a dick about it.
Well, he gave them all rectal exams.
Not all of them, but yeah, quite a few.
Colonoscopy.
Quite a few.
Colonoscopies. That's what he gave them. Colonoscopy.
That was a fun fact in history. When you get impaled, usually it's not through the chest; it's through the anus. Yeah. And it can take days to die. Not everything. No, he wasn't. But yeah, for the most part, he's regarded as a hero of Romania by Romanians to this day. mostly because he killed a bunch of Turks who were the enemies. So, however, I don't get your spelling there. The E is unnecessary in Dracula. It's not Tepish, it's Tsipish. And technically, Tsipish comes after Vlad and not Dracula.
Really?
Yeah. So his given name was Vlad III, right? Tsipish is a title that literally means the impaler. And he gets Dracula from his father, who was Vlad II Dracul. And the reason he got Dracul was because that was actually the Romanian word, or the translated title for the Order of the Dragon, which was an offshoot of the Knights Templar. He was awarded that by the papacy at the time as a member of the Order of the Dragon. And so Dracula, anytime you see that A on the end of something in Romanian, it indicates son of. So in Romanian, Dracul means both devil and dragon, which would make him son of the dragon or son of the devil. That's what the word Dracula means.
Well, I guess with a reputation like his, a lot of people would call him son of the devil.
Yeah, his dad was not a Templar. His dad was associated with the Templars. He was awarded membership in the Order of the Dragon based on his work in keeping the Ottomans at bay, which he ultimately failed to do, by the way, and was subsequently defeated and murdered by their cousin John Hunyadi of Hungary, along with his eldest son Mircea II. His youngest son Radu ended up being a concubine in Mehmed II's harem till the end of his days, from the age of like 9.
Wow.
Vlad III, or Vlad the Impaler as we know him, was the only one to basically make any real mark on history in that regard. He ruled his homeland of Wallachia, which is a province in Romania now, but was a separate kingdom at the time. 3 separate occasions in his life. But yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff behind that. Like him and his brother Radu were basically sold as hostages as sort of civil hostages to the Turks to kind of keep the Turks from, invading in force, basically by their father. Because he was having problems with the Hungarians on the other side.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Vlad the Impaler is JB is the inspiration for Dracula, but a lot of the stuff that's in that book had nothing to do with the man himself. Mostly, it was some of the history that's mentioned in the beginning of the book and the name itself. That's really only thing it had in common. And I think early descriptions in the book of his younger self were pretty close to the portraits that we have of Vlad the Impaler today. So Elizabeth Bathory less so, but yeah, she was in terms of the bloodletting. Yeah, absolutely. She was something else entirely. Whereas Vlad's impalements, his executions, his elaborate tortures that he visited upon his enemies were generally enemies of Romania, of Wallachia. Generally speaking, a lot of them were enemy soldiers. There was a bit where he just got sick of all of the corrupt politicians, so he invited them all to a conference in a barn, and then he locked them all in and he set the place on fire. He said, "All right, we're done with these assholes." Yeah. He really hated beggars. He believed that they were a leech upon society. He would excuse somebody if they were down on their luck and they were trying to get better, and they did. But if you were, a habitual panhandler, he'd have you put to death publicly, usually very gruesomely. Didn't like beggars, didn't like moochers as he saw them. Hated politicians, but almost everybody else that he did awful things to was an enemy of his country. which is why he's regarded as a hero. Whereas Elizabeth Bathory was a Romanian countess, or not Romanian. I think she was Hungarian, actually. Um, she was a noblewoman who, it's said, she had killed and exsanguinated upwards of 600 young girls from the region that she ruled, so she could bathe in their blood because she believed it kept her young. She died in prison, by the way, for good fucking reason, because she had a bunch of people murdered for vanity.
I think she was drinking the blood too.
And she might have been. Yeah. There were certainly rumors to that effect. Even if she wasn't doing it, people absolutely thought she was. And some of the awful stuff that Vlad was doing, they thought that he might have been doing something like that too.
There you go, folks. Here's the map that was promised last week. But so, did you ever find out was it StreamYards that was acting up?
Oh yeah,
It sounded like it was.
it was. It's not just us, and it gets worse the further into the weekend you go. I think that I think they're working on it, but I think that their servers were kind of getting overloaded with the amount of users.
Well, everybody
And
on it, man.
yeah, basically everybody's streaming on it all the time. But they hopefully are getting around to fixing that. There were some other issues they were having too with certain devices not being recognized or having a bug that would cause like feedback loops and shit. Yeah, it's StreamYards has been a mess.
There's your Baba Yaga right there. I don't see
Indeed.
Elizabeth Bathory on here. Even though we know who
Well,
she is, but I'm willing to bet she sure as hell was the boogie woman back in her day.
well, she was their ruler too, so they couldn't speak out against her. So that is what it is. But eventually, she was found out, and she was caught, tried, and imprisoned for the rest of her life,
I'm
where
surprised
she eventually grew old and died.
that had to be worse than dying, and worse than just being killed, immediately. Because she
I
goes through
suspect that's
all
part of
that.
why they did it. Yeah, yeah. I suspect that's why that was part of why that was her punishment. People
They
were a
put
lot
it,
more
and
poetic about it that back then.
they probably put a mirror on the other side of the cell or something, or away from her, so she can't destroy it, but she could see herself get age as time went on.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It's entirely possible because, like I said, people were much more. I mean, Vlad, for instance. So growing up in the Turkish court as he did, he understood their customs, right? He knew about that stuff. Years later, while he's running Wallachia, there's an envoy that comes from the Ottoman court, brings him a message of, I don't know, it was peace or whatever, but he was looking to start a fight, and by fight I mean international war. And so while in his presence, he commanded that they remove their turbans, which he knew was against their custom. And they, of course, refused because it was against their custom to remove their turbans. So when they refused, he ordered that the turbans be nailed to their skulls with very short nails so that the turbans could not be removed, as a rebuke for their insolence in his presence. And also because he thought it was funny. It didn't kill them. That's why the short nails.
Yeah.
And then he sent them home as an insult. Guy was a dick.
Small one from the size of it. I mean, from the sound of it. Yeah, look at
Yeah.
here's here's Nomi's La Llorona right here.
Yeah, she's your classic woman in white.
Well, where I was. Here's another one right here, and another one.
Yep. Well, the woman in white stories kind of occur all over the world. It's like crying woman that you hear out in the night. She's usually crying for her lost children. Usually because she's supposed to be the spirit of the woman who killed her own children or lost them
Right.
somehow
Yeah.
and is forever searching for them. Yeah.
Yes. And she'll smack you upside the head and steal your kids.
Yeah. Essentially. There's another variant on that, which is it's not a woman in white exactly, but it's usually like a crying girl or young woman who you pick up on the side of the road, and you drive for a while, and eventually she says, you know, "Thank you," and disappears like she was never there, but usually leaves a wet spot because she was out in the rain. You get that a lot more in like places like Virginia and that sort of thing.
D-Day saying
Yep.
that, yeah, you just got it. Well, I
Yeah,
don't know if
there's
she's on here. And I know there's something for Japan on here.
yeah, there's Japan's got a lot of stuff about her. Yeah, there's lots of stories about La Llorona, lots of stories about women in white all over the place. And it almost always has to do with dead kids too.
Like the ring.
Not exactly. That's more of a vengeful spirit kind of thing.
Yeah, but she's wearing white and there's a kid involved.
Well, no, but the kid is the ghost in this case. Also, that was fiction.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you ruin everything. You really do.
That's my job. That's my job.
And then there's I never heard of this one. Apparently this is from Iraq. The Salua. And
Yeah, Amir, we mentioned that. What was that, Larry?
Salua. I actually looked into her. So she's a cross between a witch and a demon. I think she snatches kids too.
Yeah, that seems to be like a recurring theme with
Yeah,
boogeymen. It's always about the kids. You got Black Peter, you got the Kelpie, you know, obviously
Black
La
Peter.
Llorona. Yeah, Black Peter.
I've never heard of it.
It's Dutch. You've heard of fuck? What was the name of that thing? Krampus.
Yeah, Krampus.
Yeah, it's Black
Krampus is
Peter.
Dutch, right?
It's the Anti-Claus.
Right.
Yeah, that's Black Peter is the Dutch version of that.
Krampus right here. Black Annis. England.
Yeah, Black Peter's supposed to be the asshole brother of Saint Nicholas.
Hey,
Carries sweets so that he can bribe kids into getting into a sack, kind of thing. Well,
it's,
she Amir, she is crying and looking for her kids because she's refusing to deal with the fact that she killed them. So when she finds other people's kids, she takes them.
this is a little bit of I can email you a drink or something. There was one I was trying to look for. That weird name too. I wasn't even sure. I'm not even sure I can pronounce it. Here's a North Korean one. I'm not even gonna try to. I'm not even gonna try that.
Yeah. Yeah, Shadow in the Middle East, the dead tend to stay dead. They got other things. Oh, like Amir is saying.
I was looking
So
for like. I don't think there's anything from Lebanon on here. I just see. I see Iraq. I know I saw something from Saudi Arabia earlier. And that's what I'm looking for right now, and I can't find it.
Well, when you think about Iraq, you got to think that there have been cultures there for a very long time with a wide variety of beliefs going all the way back to Babylon and Ur. So some of those might be holdovers from those times.
Could be.
Yeah. Shadow,
There's,
I that's not been my understanding about Jinn. I believe that's one perception of them, but Jinn are more like fire. They're neither good nor bad. They just are. Like some are dicks, some are not, but for the most part, they're almost like a force in nature. So I don't think it's cut and dried with just straight up good and evil. I could be wrong, but not from what I've heard. That's pretty much westernized stuff. I got yelled at for making that same comparison not that long ago.
yelled at by who?
Amira, we had a conversation, and we were talking about Jin, and yeah, I was just like, well, in the West, like Jin and Genie are kind of interchangeable, and she's like, no, not at all, and I was like, I'm gonna take her word for it because I'm not Middle Eastern, but
you know, back in the day, the rappers, they were cool with gin. That's what they had, gin and juice.
that's a different Jin.
How do you know? Oh, here it is. It's right next. Man, I'm looking all over the map, and what I was looking for was right next. Was right next to it. The Saudi Arabia, the Dojira and Umna Al Gola. I don't think I pronounced that right.
Probably not.
Based on that thing, man.
I don't know. That's
Look at the the Cambodia. I don't know if that's intestines or what. Intestines, just a woman's face and intestines.
yeah.
Map
I don't
is
know.
fascinating. I'm really gonna start. I want to do something on one of these every week. I mean, there's enough here really to go well into the next.
Yeah, yeah. Regarding Baba Yaga, the one that you initially brought up, like I don't know a ton about it beyond what I've already stated. I did read some stories when I was younger, but they all basically ended up like Hansel and Gretel, except that Hansel and Gretel don't ever get away in the Russian stories.
Well, I mean, Baba Yaga is pretty simple. I mean, she's a witch with a with a house that sits on chicken legs, and she eats.
Yeah, she eats kids like I said. Hansel and Gretel never get away in the Russian versions. They always get eaten. The Russians really want to hammer home that don't talk to fucking strangers in the woods thing to their
Exactly.
kids.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, Hansel and Gretel found their way back with breadcrumbs. Fuck that. They didn't make it out of that oven.
Now, what I am curious about is they've got the Jersey Devil for us, but I would think that Bigfoot would be more of a. I think of Bigfoot before I think of the Jersey Devil.
Right, but Bigfoot's not exclusive. Like Jersey Devil's exclusively U.S., whereas Bigfoot is like Canadian, U.S., Mexico. Um, there's stories about him all over. But Jersey Devil is from like a specific fucking area of the U.S. too. Same thing with the Mothman, I think. Not that far apart, really, either, if I recall correctly.
I'll bet you the whole common denominator with everything on this list is that they probably eat kids. They don't discriminate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like I mentioned the Kelpie earlier, which is Scottish, I believe. Uh, it's basically a water horse. It's got like seaweed for a mane and a tail. And it's kind of horrifying to look at. Really, they're slimy and gross and all that stuff. But they they induce you. They like hypnotize you. They're like, hey, come get on my back. I'll give you a ride, a fantastical ride. We'll ride out, across everything, see everything, all that stuff. But once you succumb to that and you mount the damn things, there's like an adhesive happening, and you can't get off. And then they just ride into the water and fucking drown you. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all they do. Is they drown people. I think they might eat them too, but I think at that point you're already dead. So whatever.
So last on our list for tonight, and I figured, it's been a while. I had nothing. I didn't make any of these quizzes, but it's been a while since I've actually participated also, and they're separated to 10 questions each. Well, some are 15. Um, it says their time, but you can, I think that's only if you log in. But I figured, with a wide list like this, we can kind of maybe play a couple, and and then call. Oh, and we do have a special movie trailer afterwards on the way out. What do
I
you
don't know
think?
how special it is, but sure.
Well, I'll explain why. But so the first one is yes, myths and vampires. Can you see this as well as I can?
Yeah, I can if I do this. I can now.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure what you anything catching your eye.
I might as well go with the first. Start at the top.
Myths, vampires, the undead. All right, folks. So this is not time. So if you guys want to participate, you throw your answers in the chat. There's no rush. So myths, vampires, the undead trivia quiz. Quiz on traditional vampires. They are fascinating. Quiz is a mixture of questions, particularly plus some that may catch you out. Yeah, we'll see. All right. We all know stakes are the most universally accepted way to kill a vampire, and we should know what to do with them. Heart placed on top of his coffin while sleeping. Add some garlic and serve with red wine, or stab them through the brain. I think that's pretty.
Yeah, it's the first one. The last one has some merit, but that's a very specific region.
What was it like for Nosferatu?
Well, it's not about piercing the organ, it's about pinning them to their grave so they can't climb out. It's basically you're nailing them down.
Oh, like that kid, that kid's corpse, the bones. They nailed him down because they thought.
Yeah, that's exactly what the stake is for. Like people talk about in Hollywood, they're like, "Oh, hey, we gotta put the stake through their heart because that'll kill them." It's like, no, you dumbass. That's all right. They're undead. The heart doesn't work. Like that's not going to do anything to stop them. What it does is it nails them down so they can't get up.
There are some movies that I think that makes sense because there are some movies that allude to that where, like John Carpenter's vampires, you could stab them in the heart, but you had to cut their heads off and you had to burn them.
Yep, yep, and scatter the ashes so that they can never reform.
So let's see number
It's
two.
usually over running water because they can't cross running water. It's there's a whole lot more to the
Wait, wait,
staking than they.
we're not there yet, Sam. You're jumping. Which which of these characteristics isn't commonly associated with your stereotypical vampire? Come on, nuts and bolts.
Yep, yep,
What can't vampires cross? Now we're at the running water
it's running water.
cemetery.
Richard had that like a while ago. Hey, JB, have a good night. See you later. Thanks for
Thanks,
stopping by.
Davey. All right. Next, which woman was, according to Jewish/Hebrew text, not the Bible, the first female created for the first man Adam, and from which the creation stories of vampires and other monsters possibly originate?
Lilith.
Think, yep. What should you lay at the door of your house if you want to prevent vampires from entering? Dead cat or dog, naked virgin, castrated 12-year-old boy, or sheep's blood?
Well, I can't say as I recall hearing any of this stuff, but probably sheep's blood. That's what Richard says. I would have gone with like seeds.
Yeah, why would you put a castrated?
I don't know. Would you prefer to put one there who still has his junk?
No, I'm saying why would they even put that down as a question, as a option?
Yeah.
Where do most vampire myths originate from? I'd say Eastern Europe.
Yeah. Given the options, yeah, Eastern Europe. I don't know that I
Mirror
would
man,
separate.
mirrors mean death for vampires.
False.
Pungent smell of which food repels?
Garlic.
Which of the following affects vampires the least? Bladed weapons, direct sunlight, firearms across the sea. This is tricky too because if the firearms, well, depending on, well, silver hurts vampires too, don't they? Did it hurt? Did,
Silver hurts anything that's evil and impure. Yes.
but there's no reference. It's just his firearm.
I would say probably firearms and drop firearms off of there. Yeah, that's the one. Although the cross doesn't only works if you have faith in it. Which never made sense to me. Like, what if it wasn't the Christian? What if the vampire wasn't the Christian?
Well, you know what? There is a movie. There is a movie where that happened with Jim Carrey. It's called Once Bitten. They tried the
Yeah.
cross, and she was like, "I'm an atheist. That don't work on me."
Yeah.
Then they put a match in front of her, and she was like, "Fire." On the other hand,
Oh, we just covered this next question. Yeah.
so okay, so the answer is yeah, stabbed through the heart. Right, that's the bolts, of course. But can't vampires cross running water? Okay, Lilith, dead cat or dog?
Huh. Like I just keep those lying around.
Right. Well, it is Wyoming.
Yeah. Man, if we're gonna have dead cats and dogs here, we're gonna eat them. It's cold and there's not a lot of food.
That's scary, especially if there's more people than animals around. Where do most vampire myths originate from? Eastern Europe. Here's me, death of vampires. False.
Yeah, it's because they the whole thing about mirrors is that they can't see their reflections in them because they have no souls. And mirrors used to be backed by like silver, right? That's what they would causes the reflection, and silver being a pure and holy metal would not reflect the unclean.
So even if
But it
they
doesn't hurt
existed,
them.
right? So even if they existed, let's say if they existed today, they would be able to see their reflection because silver to my knowledge, silver isn't used in mirrors. I
Yeah,
could be
yeah,
wrong.
something like that. Yeah.
Pungent smell, yeah, we know it's garlic. Which of the following affects vampires the least? Here's the firearms, yeah, and we already know that the impaler. Pretty good.
Yeah, I think we beat the shit out of that quiz, dude.
Yeah, we did. Um, if you want to do another one, the second one is three major monsters, and then you have getting cozy with cryptids.
Oh, I think maybe I'm gonna probably lay down for a while, so
Good.
maybe we can do some more of these another time.
All right.
So, by the way, have a good night, Richard. Yeah, no, it's the headache's getting worse. I don't know if you can hear it in my nose.
Yeah, I can
Like
hear it in your
as it's gone on, it's gotten like more and more stuffed up. It's putting pressure on my sinuses. So,
Yeah, it's gotten right around that time. Yeah. So yeah, okay, then we'll call it a night, guys. I will definitely hold on to this. As for the
Yeah, no,
trailer,
that was cool.
yeah. As for the trailer, guys, those of you who watched Grindhouse, from the old 2007 movie that had what was the one that Tarantino did? 'Cause there's Planet Terror, which was directed by what's his name?
Robert Rodriguez,
Robert Rodriguez, and then you had the other one that was
Death Proof.
yeah, Death Proof, which was my favorite of the two. So Eli Roth got a hold of. We know Machete was turned into a full feature film, which was one of the fake trailers in Grindhouse. Well, Eli Roth just made one for Thanksgiving, and in fact, I think it came out today.
I
So
fucking hate
Thanksgiving,
Eli Roth so much.
yeah. So he took the trailer for Thanksgiving and actually turned it into a feature length film, and I think it came out today. So, and I was gonna show you guys the trailer for that, but I'm sure you can go ahead and look that up because I think it has music on it too. So we would have had to mute it. But in any event,
Yeah,
guys, thank you
it's
for
fine.
joining us. Guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Um, let's send your prayers to Sam that he feels well. I don't know what's going on. Like last week I was hurting. This week you're hurting.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
So,
So
guys, sorry.
I should be better after some sleep. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you'll be fine. As for us, guys, you can catch Sam tomorrow screaming into the void. I'll be packing, so I will try to make it, but I'm usually not able to. You can also catch us in the chat uh, on late Saturday nights on the Exile Lioness 2 channel, starring the amazing Amira. And guys, You can also catch Sam Sunday with the Star Trek Engage show that he does with a variety of colorful characters, and that should be it.
Yeah, that's what we're calling them now.
And and guys, remember, it could be worse. Forget what you're gonna say, just like I did.
Yeah, you can do that. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for coming. And like everything Larry just said. So could be worse. Could be raining flaming cobras. Good night, everybody.
What is it?